Ah. Hola, buenos días a todos. Espero que estén teniendo una hermosa mañana. Para todos los que acaban de entrar y que necesitan interpretación en español, elijan el lenguaje en el icono de interpretación para que puedan recibir la interpretación en español. Comenzamos en un minuto. So how's the weather in Tacoma, Ivanova?
So the weather here, I'm actually not in Tacoma right now, but it's probably the same. I am here down in Olympia.
Oh, it's
live.
So, okay. And Olympia, yes. I'm sorry. I don't know why I was thinking Tacoma.
So it is, I'm down here at the Capitol with other self-advocates.
Hello.
Hello. And we are getting ready for the Shut Them Down rally, which will be happening right after these advocacy days. And so I will be emceeing here live at the U.S. Capitol. Welcome, everyone.
That's awesome. Thank you for all your advocacy work, Ivanova. You're awesome. And thank you for all the people that are there to support. Shut them down. Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Woo.
We are ready to start to honor everybody's time. Thank you for being here. Today is January 26, 2022, and we are here for the Civil Rights Advocacy Days. Oh, sorry, my dog is kind of like licking my face. My name is Gabriela Ewing. I am a co-chair for the DDC, is a Developmental Disability Council for the state of Washington. And I'm here with Ivanova Smith, that she is joining us live from Advocacy Days and Shut Them Down at the rally. And do you want to say hi, Ivanova? Y por favor, a las personas que necesitan interpretación, elijan el icono de interpretación, elijan su idioma español y para que puedan escuchar esta presentación en su lenguaje. Gracias, bienvenidos y comenzamos. Go ahead, Ivanova. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Ivanova Smith. I'm the past chair of Self-Advocates in Leadership, and I am here live at the U.S. Capitol. We are getting ready for the Shut Them Down rally, which will be happening right after the Civil Rights Advocacy Day. Welcome, everyone, and let's get started with our first presenters, the North Star Civil Rights, with the co-chairs, Anthony and Courtney Thorne.
Ivanova, neither Anthony nor Courtney are on the call. Are they down there at the Capitol with you?
Oh, I do not see them here.
Well, maybe you and Kyle could talk about the legislative priorities for the North Star Civil Rights Work Group.
And just for everybody to note, in the chat, there's a link. If you cannot be in person at the Capitol, you can join via Zoom, so you can see the entire event and participate. Thank you.
And as far as I know, Anthony should be down there setting up the technology piece of it.
I'm texting him right now. He was going to log in. He was going to log in and do it. So,
well, maybe we can put that part on hold. Let's see if our next presenter is here. I have not seen Susan yet.
Do we have Craig?
I think Craig is here.
We do, but I'm trying to call Anthony. So give me about 30 seconds.
How about I'll play a video? Let's start off with that.
Okay, I think that's great.
All right,
please.
So we're gonna watch a video from the great Sean Latham.
No, this one's from Meseret Hale.
Okay.
We'll start hers first because Sean's gonna wrap us up and get us all excited.
Okay, sorry. Marcel Dale's video. Take it away.
And Diane, I don't know if you want to cue this up, but this was a video that was shared with us right during the legislative reception, which was a highly successful event with legislators coming from all across the state. And this video was shared by a parent who has really struggled with getting services for her child. I just want to have a quick disclaimer that there are some things in this video that may prove to be a trigger for some people, and that you should watch it with a little bit of caution in that regard. We are very grateful for Mesra to share this story with us. It's very personal, very touching, and very difficult to recognize the kinds of issues that we will need to face to support her and her family. And she's not the only one. So again, just a quick note, there may be some things in here that are triggers for some people. And so please be advised and watch this with a little bit of caution.
Yes, and Mesra is helping us with identifying the civil rights of children, especially who are being sent to out of home or out of state residential placements, because our state doesn't have what they need to provide the services. And every child should have the right to live here around their family. Even if they need to be placed out of home, they shouldn't have to go out of state.
My name is Thaili, and I live in Bellevue 41st District. I have 2 boys, and the oldest child, name is Lowell. He's 14 years old now. He has been diagnosed with severe high need autism. As a parent of autistic son, we thought we would be able to take care of him as he grows older. Lowell's behavior have become more challenging as he grows bigger than myself and my husband. He was suspended in the school so many times because of his behavior. When I say challenging, I mean many life-threatening incidents where his behavior affects the family, pushing, hitting whoever around him, damaging property, waking up in the middle of the night to start just fighting. To make my family's concern clear, I want to share some of those experiences with you. One Sunday morning, I went to church with my youngest child. Lul was staying home with his father. After church, when I get home, I discovered that Lul had pushed his dad to the ground, which knocked him unconscious. As you can imagine, this scared us a lot. I was shaking when I took my husband to the hospital emergency room, and they did CT scan and chest X-ray. He had very big bruise, but luckily there wasn't brain damage. After that incident, my husband suffers a lot. So Lul was admitted in Children's Hospital because of his behavior. Since then, he was discharged and readmitting again and again, including 5 times with police response. All along, we have been trying our best to manage his behavior at home. However, now he's very tall, 6 feet, and he weighs over 200 pounds. Because of that reason, we couldn't manage his physical aggressive behavior at home. The last time he went to Children's Hospital, he was there for 140 days for because our family couldn't longer live with continuous physical risk, and we worried about our survival. We could not bring him back to our home. It would not be safe for him or the rest of family. The experience of having Lul stay in the hospital for so long with no placement to go for his care was very, very challenging and stressful. We are very frustrated because of DDA and Medicaid. were unable to find long-term treatment and safe place for him to be in Washington State. Finally, the school district offered to pay residential placement outside the state. This was a heartbreaking decision to have to send him so far away, but it was our only choice. He has been living Hot Spring Residential School in Wichita, Kansas since October 19, 2020. Since then, I have only been able to visit him 5 times. I can do Zoom visits, even though he doesn't talk. I can see him on those calls. The thought of sending away my 14-year-old son, who cannot speak for himself, to other states was heartbreaking. We need enhanced behavioral support home here in Washington State to help my son and others like him. They should be able to receive the care they need and live near their family.
And we want to thank Meseret for sharing her story. I just want to read a statement that Meseret and other families shared during legislative days that I think is important to include with the video. We understand these are powerful descriptions of challenging behaviors. We as parents hold our loved ones' privacy and dignity in high regard. We don't like sharing their most difficult moments in their life, but we have realized remaining silent about the day-to-day challenges is not beneficial to our children, who are not currently fully understood, nor are they receiving the services and supports they desperately need. Examples and stories reveal the realities that many individuals and families are facing. We must raise awareness and encourage vital funding to address their unique needs here in our state.
Thank you so much, Stacy. It's heartbreaking to hear the stories of families, and we hear so many. One is too many. So that's why it's so important to support Bill SB 5938 to shut them down and bring those people that we love close to us, to our families in our communities. With that, do we have Anthony back in, do we have him in the room? I
So
cannot see the screen.
Anthony is trying to get in. It's not letting him in, but his cohort, Courtney, is here. I saw her come in.
I'm right
we-
here,
Okay.
Gabriella.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you
And
so
if you
much
still
for
need
being
help, let
here.
me know.
Thank you. I think Anthony is just getting in the room. Thank you so much, Courtney and Anthony, for logging in. We know that you are really hands-on in the Advocacy Day for Shut Them Down. Please share with us what you're doing and all about the movement that you're doing right now. About the North Star. Go ahead. The floor is yours, Anthony and Courtney.
Oh. Hey, Gabriella.
Hi, Anthony. Would you like to share first of all, thank you so much for being here this morning. We know that you are firsthand in Olympia for the event to shut them down. Could you please, and Courtney, share with us about the North Star and what's happening? Thank you.
I'll let her go first.
Okay. So the things that we're taking to the legislation is to benefit you. Like the thing on the benefit you. Yeah, the benefits, yeah, the priorities for the civil rights that we have planned for the civil rights is planning
benefit planning is not accessible to everyone. We really need benefit planners for every person who needs them. And the second thing is sexual health education to be available and encouraged for people with IDD, not just for students without IDD. People with IDD should be supported in expressing their gender identity and sexual orientation, just as anyone without IDD.
Anthony, do you want to expand on either of those?
Sure. Yeah, it's like our civil rights. We need our civil rights respected, and we need to be treated just like anyone else. Sorry, got a feedback. And it's like we've been working on our civil rights and everything with trying to pass the nothing about us without us and try to get everyone into the community, because people deserve to be in the community, free to do what they want, not feel like they're in a segregated prison.
Okay, and Anthony, I'm going to share a little bit more on the sexual education one. Last year, our legislature passed a big bill about making sure that students were taught sexual education in school. And this year, Representative Melanie Morgan has House Bill 2016. And with that, she wants to add to that sex education bill so that students are actually taught more about how to avoid being recruited by sex traffickers, which happens a lot with kids, and especially kids that are more vulnerable. So I have asked her to amend the bill a little bit to make sure that all students who are in special education, getting special education services, are also included, because right now, a lot of times they are not included in those health classes that talk about sexual education. So we want to make sure that all students are getting access to those classes.
Yeah.
Anything else, Courtney and Anthony?
It's just we need to keep fighting for our civil rights, and like we all say, nothing about us without us. We need to be treated as equal citizens in Washington State and anywhere else.
Right, Anthony and Courtney, thank you so much for sharing. I see a question from Josie Schneider.
It's
Sorry.
Schindler, but that
Okay, thank you.
You're okay. I also think that if you're gonna teach sex education, it needs to also be appropriate for the person, and making sure that they understand what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, and it's explained to them to where they can understand it. Because if they can't understand it, what's the use of teaching it to them if, you know, somebody just comes up and shakes their hand and they think that's sexual harassment, or, you know, or something like that. I'm just trying to use an example of something that would be appropriate and what's not appropriate.
That's right, Josie. Do we have any comment from Anthony or Courtney about this?
Also, you're running a little bit with what Greg's doing as well.
Yeah, actually, Josie, it's like, yeah, I agree in some hands, but it's like we just need to find many different levels of sex ed. I mean, yeah, you got to start small and work your way to the top. But it's like people still deserve to be taught sex education because we're all human. We all need to learn how we can learn in our ways. Everyone has their own way of learning sex ed. You got anything to say about that, Courtney?
I agree with what you said.
Okay, Gabriella, we have Susan Harrell here now. So we could go on and she could explain a little bit more about the first one, the benefits planning.
Thank you so much. It is hard to see who's in the room because I don't see
Yeah.
the audience. Thank you so much, Susan, for being here. And could you please share with us about the benefits planning and introduce yourself as well? Thank you.
I'd be happy to. First off, I just want to thank you for your interest in benefits planning and for inviting me here to speak to what has been developed and what we're hoping to develop to meet the benefits planning needs of people who really face a lot of confusion and complexity around their own specific benefits picture and need more support. And, you know, as a way of introducing myself, I just want to let you know that I have worked in this field since 1985. I also have a sibling who has a developmental disability and is on benefits. And so personally, this has been a very important issue to me, and professionally, I have faced it a lot with individuals and families as we're looking at people living bigger, better lives, having more income, being able to move out on their own or get married, have children, just so many different things impact benefits. And it is very hard for individuals to get the information they need at times to be able to really make a well-informed decision that accounts for the importance of benefits in their lives, particularly Medicaid, but sometimes cash benefits too, if they don't have other income to replace that cash benefit that comes through Social Security. So thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I wanted to give a little overview of what we've developed over the last couple of years to address this need. And then I have a wish list at the end to speak to as well. I currently work at WISE, the Washington Initiative for Supported Employment, and have worked there since 2000. And we have developed this Benefit You planning service over the last couple of years, with our first rollout in March officially to be available for benefits planning. And Benefit You is specific to Washington State. As many of you may know, there are benefits that are available and crafted state by state. And so we felt it was very important to really have information available to people that is very specific to what Washington State provides, along with what federal benefits are provided. And we have built this in a way to reinforce and offer services that are provided by well-trained, credentialed benefits planners. So these are people who have gone through training with Cornell or with Virginia Commonwealth, and also have received extensive state-specific training in order to provide the benefits. And WISE is providing the service. Our base funding is provided by the Developmental Disabilities Administration. We offer a library of information and tools and resources through a website, as well as offering individualized benefits planning services, with the idea that people can go and get training and informational handouts and access to information as they need it. And they can go through benefits planning services that are very individualized around their specific benefits needs. So there's two pieces that we offer, because sometimes people just want some basic information, and at other times they need more specific help with their individual needs. This may be obvious to most of you, but I think that people need to learn more about benefits in order to make those informed choices that I alluded to earlier. And also to alleviate fears and address crisis situations, because sometimes people are encountering things that they were not informed about before they came about, like overpayment of benefits, and really trying to unwind the situation and provide the information and help that somebody needs in those situations not only helps them, but helps the community at large. Because when people face those kinds of difficult situations and they don't know what to do, the word spreads and it increases fear that doesn't necessarily have to be there if we have really good foundational information going forward with individuals from beginning to end to help them be prepared for situations. Margaret Lee asked if we could share this PowerPoint, and I actually have provided it to Diana, and so it will be shared as part of the follow-up to this presentation.
Yes, all the videos and the presentations will be added online.
Yeah. So I wanted to just give you just a brief overview of some of the things that we do in benefits planning that help people to live their life to the fullest and then address fears. So thinking about a new job or a raise and saying yes or no to those situations when you know that benefits could be impacted, it's so important to get that information to be able to make that choice. But I also want to encourage people to live bigger, better lives by saving, by being able to have more than that minimal resource level that often they are living under with certain benefits. And so giving them ways to think about saving more and those strategies to help them live well beyond employment into their retirement is equally important to me. I want people to have lives like anyone else has, and not to really face all of those limits that can really feel like such a restriction to having the life that you see others live. And so that means understanding and maximizing benefits. It also means addressing issues around marriage and children so people can make decisions. But we also want to be there when somebody is facing a loss of a job, or a loss of benefits or overpayments, or they have seen that their benefits have been reduced due to a household situation, so that they can really understand what is happening and be able to create strategies to address those situations. So right now with Benefit You, the people that are eligible for benefits planning services are people who are Washington State residents and age 14 or older. You don't have to have an authorization or a referral for services in order to access the benefit planning services. So I really want to make that clear. I also want to make clear that we have developed this service with DDA support to be able to do a no wrong door kind of an approach. So anyone needing benefits planning services, whether they're eligible for DDA services or even on the no paid services caseload, or there's somebody that is served by a different service system, can come to Benefit You for benefits planning services. And at that point, when they come in for services, we determine if we can provide the services for benefits planning in-house, start to have a credentialed planner work with the individual to look at the benefits situation, or if we need to go to one of our partner agencies like DVR, the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, or other service systems because they don't qualify for DDA services. So we provide the services and supports to get the person benefits planning, whether they are eligible for developmental disability administration services or not. So I want to just make that clear because we wanted to make this approachable, even though our funding comes from the Developmental Disabilities Administration.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Does anyone have any questions? As I'm not seeing any raised hands, so
No, but I don't think she's finished yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you not finished?
Now,
I'm
there's
sorry.
a few other things I wanted to discuss if I have time to.
Yes, you're fine.
Okay. So I wanted to tell you about how to request benefit planning services. So people can actually schedule an intake by going to the Benefit You website. And I'm not going to take you through this because I know our time is short today, but I do have contact information at the end of this PowerPoint as well to give you a walkthrough if you would be interested with our service center manager, Dan Rutten. But you can go to our website, benefitu.org, and click on the benefits information for individuals and families. And in that area, you will see that you can go to a service eligibility page where it allows you to book an appointment to be able to meet. We meet via Zoom right now to be able to meet with Dan Rutten to do an intake for services where he collects some basic information and then starts to collect information from different resources like Social Security or different state Medicaid managing agencies in our state to be able to create a complete picture of what's going on with benefits. So a benefit planner can hit the ground running with you to figure out what you need to know and what decisions you may need to make. And all of our services are around your goals and priorities. So in asking for services, we ask you what your goals are and what your priorities are in order to support you with our services to better meet those goals and priorities. We do have a video walkthrough of how to do it as well. And there's a link in the PowerPoint. So when you get the PowerPoint, you go to that slide, go to the bottom, and there's a video that shows you how to go through this process for an intake. Next slide. And I was asked to kind of come up with a list of the kinds of things that are needed in order to make sure that we can meet the needs that people have for benefits planning services. One of the things that's a big problem is being able to get the information about a person's benefit from key points of contact. And really, there are a lot of electronic information sharing secured mechanisms that state agencies can use to share information with each other. We really would like to get a data sharing agreement with state agencies at the very least to be able to more quickly access information about benefits. We also want to provide more training to help people out in the community be able to provide basic information and dispel myths. And Kathy Murahashi, I saw her on here, is one of those people that we've taken through the credentialing training in order to build her skills to be one of those points of contact. And we want to offer more of those credentialing trainings to state agency staff, as well as to parent and individual advocates. In addition, we want to train people who are lawyers out in our communities to be able to understand better what is going on with benefits, to help people address overpayments or appeal different decisions that are made around benefits. So really providing that help from a legal standpoint for individuals is so important. Setting up trusts is another thing to make sure that attorneys understand the issues and are well trained in the strategies to use to assure that when they're setting up trusts, it really works for people. In addition, we want to enhance our website to create something that allows an individual to take the information we know about their benefits and then to be able to do calculations around dreams, bigger income, or different things they want to do so they can see from their own benefit lens what is happening and what decisions they may need to make and when they may need benefits planning again. This is really kind of like what I compare to a TurboTax option, where in TurboTax, in preparing your taxes, you can go in afterwards when there are certain known pieces of information and to say, well, what if I used this? What if I earned this much? What possibly would happen with my taxes? And I really feel strongly we need something like that for individuals and families to be able to do some of their own calculations and not always have to go back to benefits planning when they have already gotten a complete picture of their own verified benefits and they want to run through scenarios. The other thing I want to do is expand language access using translation tools and services so that the information that we have in handouts and trainings on the website are really accessible to people that have other languages that are their primary language rather than English. I really want to make sure that what we have is inclusive. And all of these things take a large investment of resources, and we're trying to plan and carve that out. But it definitely is one of those things that slows down growth when we're trying to balance that funding with providing the services on an ongoing basis. So this is kind of our wish list. This slide just gives you an overview of what's available on our website. I'm not going to go through it at this point, but I'd encourage you to go to benefitu.org and dig around a little bit. There are lots of videos and handouts that I hope you'll find helpful. And this is the contact information for our service center manager, Dan Rutten. He was unable to be here with me today, but he is somebody that's readily available by phone or email to answer questions. So I'd encourage you to direct questions to him. We really want to be of service to our community. And thank you so much for inviting me to attend today and present.
Thank you so much for presenting. That was really informative information.
I appreciate your interest in this. We just need all hands on deck. So
it's a very important issue. Does anybody have any questions? Let me check in the chat. Just a bunch of people saying thank you, Susan, and well deserved. All right.
Do some questions.
Oh, I see
Taylor
And
Chris,
Josie.
and Josie. Okay, I will go with Taylor first and then Josie. Go ahead, Taylor.
All right. Hi, Susan. It's nice
Hi.
to meet you. I loved everything of what you presented, and I love how you just you showed compassion and caring, and like you really want to make a difference, and I appreciate that. Everything you had mentioned is something that I have gone through. I've been on SSI since I was 18. I am a mother, and I recently got married. So we'll see how SSI goes with that. And I'm going to be navigating that actually pretty soon, I'm assuming. So, yeah, I have worries about that, and I'm just kind of riding along with it right now. But the fact that you kind of have the same feeling as I do, that people with disabilities shouldn't be punished because they got married. Our income should still be our income. You know, I understand it could be affected a little bit, but it shouldn't be affected detrimentally, especially with how much things cost nowadays. Like SSI is outdated. It's not updated with nowadays costs with housing and food and gas. It hasn't updated really that it's kind of like it's not caught up. So, you know, and the fact that you're wanting to help people that are currently dealing with this and people that are about to deal with this and help navigate it, I just think it's really awesome. And I'd love to maybe connect with you at some point. And I also work for the ARC of Spokane as well. And I just started as a parent coalition advocate. So I'm still kind of learning myself, even though I'm an advocate and I have autism myself, and my daughter has autism and an intellectual disability. There's still so much I'm learning and navigating. But I feel like when you spoke, it spoke to me. Like I felt like I felt cared about. Like I felt like I'm not the only one that feels this way.
Taylor, thank you. And, I have a laundry list of things I want to change on the federal level too. And every opportunity I get, I really speak to how limiting and archaic, how old some of these policies are. And so, I think there are lots of opportunities for us to advocate for change on the federal level around SSI amounts and limits, around what, kinds of things are built around marriage that just do not live into where we are today and are really not equitable. So I hope that we have future opportunities to work together to advocate for change as well with some of the things that are embedded in the federal or national picture around benefits.
Thank you so much.
All right, Josie. I'm so glad that Taylor got to go first, because my heart just cried knowing that she just got married, and that I want to let you know, Taylor, that you might want to start preparing for the birth, and because you might not get what you need, or your desires, but and that's a walk in life, and so I'm so glad that you got to go first, but my heart cries for you, and I hope for the best, and that you get everything that you need with your disability and your children's disabilities, and I hope that you get the help you need, and and stuff like that. So my I don't know if I have a question, but so do you help people with disabilities, or on DDA, or without DDA, or because my mother, my biological mother, just passed away just recently, and me and my brother, and I don't know if my sister will be getting a big lump of money, but because of her passing, and she owned a lot of land, and now we have to sell it, and her car and her house and everything she owned. I hope I don't get kicked off of my benefits with all of that I'm dealing with, and I don't know if you can help me, or how you can help me with the money that I might be about ready to receive.
So the way that we've built this, now we're building our capacity. We have a few contracted planners, and we also are hiring another staff for the call center. And we have a call center manager or a service center manager in place right now. We are funded by DDA, but anybody can go through the intake process with us, and we'll gather information about your situation. And if you are DDA eligible, we will provide benefits planning in-house at Benefit You. If you are not DDA eligible, we're going to help get you the benefit planner that you need out of the system that you're served through. And there's a variety of options out there in the community to try to match to an individual and the services they receive to get that benefits planning. So anyone can ask for an intake through Benefit You, and we'll help you sort out how to get planning. So one way or another, we want people to get the planning they need. And we're so grateful that the Developmental Disabilities Administration allows us to have that no wrong door approach, where anyone can come to us and we're going to help you figure out how to get the planning you need, either through us or through a partner that does planning as well.
Thank you for your question, Josie. Helen, you have your hand up, Helen Black.
Hi, thank you. I just want to kind of piggyback on everybody. Taylor, you did amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So my question to you, Suzanne, is I teach Life After High School series here in Spokane County with the ARC of Spokane. So I'm wondering, can I email you and kind of pick your brain for some resources and things to be able to share with parents who attend our classes?
Sure.
Can you put your email address in the chat box?
Yes.
And then, yeah, you and I can talk some more later. Thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to talk.
Do we have any other questions or comments? Thank you so much, Susan, for sharing such important information. We really appreciate you being here and sharing with us. And okay, I was just looking at the chat, but it's the interpreter.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please, if you have any other questions, submit them in the chat. That will be great. I will remind our speakers to please speak at a not so fast pace so our interpreters can translate. Thank you. Next, we are going to have Smerit Hans and Kelly Richburg. And they're going to share with us about the HB 1310 policy use for force policy.
Gabriella, we skipped over Craig earlier. Can we get him in first?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes, I see him. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Craig, I'm sorry we called on you earlier and we didn't see you in the meeting. So could you please share with us about sexual health?
Yes, so my name is Craig Cecilia. I am a self-advocate and I'm also the director of the TBI network and then the Student First Training Coordinator. So I've had over the last decade and a half, I'm aging myself, the pleasure and honor of working with about 45,000 students in Eastern Washington in 7 different counties. And the one thing that people need to understand, for some reason, typical populations have this illusion that people with disabilities feel differently, act differently. They have the same wants and desires, feelings. And so they're missed out on a lot of opportunity in education and school overall, you know, and until we desegregate and then they're taught in, everybody's taught together, that's never going to change. But on a thing such as sexual predators and so forth, they need to be trained. Just last 2 weeks ago, we had a young woman with a developmental disability got abducted by somebody, ended up in Montana there on their way to Mexico. And, you know, who knows what was going to happen there? You know, thank God they caught them. They need to be taught. You know, remember when we were kids, you know, scream, yell, fight, get away. You know, we need to be teaching all students this because it's becoming a more dangerous world, not a less dangerous world. And it's not just sexual education. They need to be taught all education opportunities. You know, just because you're a person and you walk into a garage doesn't make you a car. And my comparison to that, just because people assume just because you're a student and you walk into school, you're being taught everything. Students in high school are lost. They're not connected with other students. They not only do they not get the same educational rights, they don't get the same sexual, they're not assumed to have sexual tendencies by a lot of people. And that's just not true. People with disabilities are just like everyone else. And you know, and every person has the ability to learn at their rate, and everybody learns different. And I hate to say it, we're losing geniuses in our system. Some of these kids with disabilities are so smart, so perceptive, so intuitive. You know, our next great inventors may have just got overlooked. And so they have to be exposed to every opportunity, especially sexual, especially safety. By us not allowing this to happen, we're missing a generation of genius. You know, maybe a couple, you know, who knows how many generations of genius that we have overpassed. You know, so they need these opportunities for social skills. So when they do graduate, they're not isolated in another setting. You know, so isolating people from high school to residential, it doesn't create healthy, thriving people. And then there's no reason for this. I mean, we're beyond this. And now I'll close with this. You know, people with disabilities, you know, myself being a brain injury survivor, I don't want a lawyer making my decisions for me. So nothing about us without us is huge. and also closing the institution, starting the process. It has to start somewhere. I mean, it's been going on for decades. So support SB 3938, amend House Bill 2016 to include people with disabilities. Make sure that people with disabilities are getting the same opportunities, the same education, the same access as everybody. This is simple. Everybody deserves the same access in the public school. And thank you. So if you have any questions, they gave me 5 minutes. I think I took a little over, so I'm gonna.
Thank you so much for sharing. And yes, we have a question, and we're a little bit behind schedule, so we're going to take maybe a couple of questions, and we have Lane. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lane Anderson. I am also I'm a policy intern at the ARC of Spokane. I wanted to personally thank Craig because he is one of my he is one person that I look up to. When I was in high school, he helped me learn what advocacy means. And because of him, now I'm into a advocacy job. So I wanted to thank him personally for everything that he does and everything that he has done for people with disabilities and taking action and being so caring to all of us. And I just wanted to thank you. So thank you.
Thank you. You're like, you're what I hope every student turns out like. And unfortunately, not advocacy is not for everyone, but yeah, your service is gonna go on for decades.
Thank you, Lane. Thank you, Craig. Such a great information, and please support the bills that Craig shared with us. And thank you for being here.
Absolutely, wouldn't missed it.
Next, we are going to have I'm looking at my agenda. We're going to have Smerit Hans and Kelly Richburg. Do we have them both in the meeting?
Yes, we're both here. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Simrat Hans, and this is my colleague, Senior Policy Analyst Kelly Richburg. We work at the Attorney General's office, and we're going to speak to you all a little bit today about House Bill 1310. So I can start off. I was going to talk to you all about a little bit on the background of this legislation, what our role is at the Attorney General's office, and how you all can be involved. So to give a little bit of background about House Bill 1310, this is a law about police use of force and de-escalation. So this was a bill that was passed last summer, and it limits when police officers can use physical force, and it requires police officers to use reasonable care before they use force. And it also requires that police officers use de-escalation tactics before using force. So that can mean things like creating a physical distance or communicating with a person before using physical force, calling for backup or other forms of resources. And the bill also requires police officers to consider the different characteristics or any differences or vulnerabilities that a person might have when they're interacting with those people, to consider those things before they use force and when they're deciding how much force to use in a situation. And that can include if a person has a mental, behavioral, or physical impairment or a disability. And so the bill also, it's when it comes to our role at the Attorney General's office, the bill asks that the Attorney General's office develops what is called model policies on the police use of force and de-escalation. And what that means is that we will have to write a kind of guiding manual that police officers will use to learn and understand the new rules and of how they use force and how they use de-escalation. So we will be publishing that manual in July of this year. And how you all can be involved in that is we are doing an outreach process. We are reaching out and we are connecting with different organizations, different groups of people, and self-advocates like a lot of the people in this Zoom to talk about their ideas and their thoughts and their experiences. If they have had a past experience with police and they want to talk to us about it, if they have ideas for how police can use different de-escalation, different strategies or tools when they're working with different people. If you have comments on that, we would love to hear from you. So that's our outreach process, and we are doing this right now, and we'll be doing it for the next few months. So we're doing it after we have a draft as well. So right now we don't have a draft of the written policy. So we're just having these conversations with people, and then we will reach out and have these conversations again after we have something in writing, so people can have their comments heard and understood throughout this process. So that's a little bit about what we are doing and how you can be involved. I know we don't have a lot of time today in this space to talk about this, if anyone wants to share their thoughts or their feelings about this. So I am going to put my my information in the chat, so you can reach out to me if you would like to speak about this. And we could also answer some questions now if people have them. And I will also let Kelly, if you wanted to add anything that people should know, feel free.
Thanks, Simran. I think you covered it, and we could pause for any questions or comments.
Are there any questions or comments? Let me see. Is there anybody's hands raised that I'm not seeing? I'm having to scroll through my chat. Stacy posted in the chat, CP stands for Community Protection Program. And then there's a couple of links to some a YouTube video and a email.
You're breaking up a little bit, Ivanova.
So I don't see any other questions though.
Yes, we do have a question from Josie.
I just screenshotted your information. I can't say your name, so I'm sorry for that. But I guess I will be in contact later with my questions because I am very scared of the police in any kind of authority figure such as that. So a lot of times to calm me down, I need people to make me understand that I'm not the one that they're targeting. I might be a witness. I might be, something. Maybe they need to make it so that I understand that if I do what they say, I won't be in much trouble. But even with them approaching me, it fears me, and so. But I will be in contact with you later because I don't want to stall this program or the Zoom.
Thank you, Josie.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
I do have a question. So we have this passing last year, and now we see that expired. So what about this time? Does this bill have an expiration date? Do you know what I'm saying? So is it gonna be again for next year the same thing, or is it permanent?
I don't believe that this bill has an expiration. Kelly, do you?
No, so the standards that Simran was talking about in terms of limiting the use of force and requiring de-escalation and reasonable care and consideration for a person's characteristics or circumstances that make them vulnerable, those are permanent changes that are already in effect unless the legislature takes additional action in the future.
Yes, thank you. That question came in a personal message, so that they didn't want to ask, but thank you so much for addressing that. And I see Diana has her hand raised.
Yes, and I think some of the confusion may have been, Gabriella, that they're talking now about a bill that passed last year. They're not talking about another bill this year. They're just talking about the manual that they're creating from the bill from last year, in case that was the confusion. The other thing I wanted to throw in here for you, Simra and Kelly, for parents who have kids with developmental disabilities, a lot of them are afraid to contact police because they're afraid of what the response will be. And when my son was younger, I had to call 3 times because of elopement when he ran away. But I found that it really helped if the parents were able to let the officer know, my son has this disability. These are things that you could talk to him about, when you encounter him, that will help calm him down. And I, in training I used to do, I would encourage officers, if they knew that the person had a disability and they were talking to the parent, ask the parent, what things can you tell me that would help me if I encounter this person, to help them stay calm and be able to go peacefully to what they, back home or wherever.
It's a great point, and obviously, the people themselves and their family members know the best strategies and techniques to use to calm a person down or make them feel more comfortable. So that's a great suggestion about having police ask or talk to the family to find out what might be going on and what might be the best way forward.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, it is very important that we support this bill, and it helps for police not to do racial profiling, and that includes disabilities. So thank you so much for coming and sharing with us about this important issue. And please don't forget to support this bill. And if we have any other questions, please post them in the chat. And you see in the chat that Smirt, I hope I pronounce your name correctly, that she shared her email and phone number also to send her any questions that you guys might have. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And Ivanova, I don't know, I know you're live and doing advocacy. I don't know if you want to introduce our next guest, but it is all about shut them down.
All right. Our next guest is Sean Latham. Take it away, Sean. Is it Sean or crap? I'm breathing.
Yeah, there's a lot of, it is cutting the connection. So next we're going to have Sean Latham with Shut Them Down. Thank you.
So Diane, Sean sent you a video to play?
Yes, I'm sharing that.
Oh, perfect.
The Shut Them Down rally is presented by Self-Advocates in Leadership and the Shut Them Down Coalition. Shut Them Down is a coalition of advocates with intellectual and developmental disabilities, IDD, family members, and organizations. We, the coalition, are demanding that the 4 remaining developmental disability institutions, residential rehabilitation centers, be closed. We have seen how 17 other states, including the District of Columbia, has said a strong no to congregate settings like DD institutions, and yes to building up their community services, so that all people with intellectual and developmental disabilities can successfully live in the community. Each state wanted the same thing our people want. And what do we want? Shut them down. Again, what do we want? Shut them down.
Shut them down, Sean.
One last time. What do we want?
Shut them down.
Shut them down.
This Wednesday, the Shut Them Down Coalition with our partners Self-Advocates in Leadership, Allies in Advocacy, and People First of Washington, along with our other co-sponsors for the event, the Washington State Developmental Disabilities Council and the ARC of Washington State will present the Shut Them Down rally. This rally will be held at the Capitol steps in Olympia at the state capitol at 1 p.m. But don't worry if you can't be at the rally in person, because we will also be live streaming the event through the Sales Zoom link. The Sales Zoom link can be found on this week's Advocacy Day agenda and on the Facebook pages of Self-Advocates in Leadership, Allies in Advocacy, and People First of Washington. This week's rally will highlight 5 key speakers: Michael Raymond, Yvonne Novasmith, Anthony Nash, Robert Wardell, and Justin Maxwell, who all have faced institutionalization in their lives, so they will share their story along with others who want to see the institutions closed. The speakers will also highlight a new bill, Senate Bill 5938, sponsored by Senators Braun and Robinson, and supported by the Shut Them Down Coalition and their self-advocacy partners. A big thank you also to Adrian Stewart from the DD Council, who worked with the coalition and Senator Braun to make this bill a reality. This bill would require our state to work with advocates for 18 months to come up with person-centered plans to get the ball rolling on making community transfers possible. Then the bill would slowly transition 20% of residents at each of the institutions into the community every year until 2028, where the institutions would be closed for good. Some may argue we need more time and more community housing before we start. I say we have 6 years, a total of 3 bienniums, to build up community services and extend the services people have already. We can also make sure all communities have fully accessible, affordable transportation. We could demand our state to build out more accessible, affordable community housing around the state. We can push our legislators to build more state-operated living alternatives, companion homes, adult family homes, supportive living homes, and other types of homes with services. We also need to advocate to pay a higher rate for providers and much, much more. Yes, we could keep waiting until everything is 100% ready, but we will never be perfectly ready. It is due time to shut them down. Please show your support for our mission to close the institutions down. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the video.
Oh, Gabrielle, we might have lost you. You're on mute.
Hello. Now we will let Diane Stadden take it away, telling us our bills of interest.
Thank you, Vanova.
Good morning, everyone. So one of the things I want to let you know about is that we have changed where you can find the bills of interest on our website to make it easier. So when you go to our website at arcwa.org and you click on the advocacy tab, you just hover over it. The first thing you'll see is the bill tracker. So that will bring you to this page. And right here are the bills of interest. So we update this every week so that you can see if there's any new bills that have come out. And when you see this, the bills of interest, you're going to see that we have a position of whether we like the bill, we don't like the bill, maybe we don't have enough information to make a decision yet. And the bill numbers that are over on the left side, you can click on those bill numbers and it will take you straight to the bill page. So you can scroll down, see all the different hearings it's been in. And you can click on the bill and read the full bill. And we're not going to do that today. We're going to spend more time just talking about bill numbers. A couple of them that I want to let you know about first are the adult family home exemptions. We've had a hearing on one of these bills. The other one is fairly new. But these bills would allow adult family homes to have a property tax exemption because everything they have to put into getting licensed and taking care of everything is really very expensive. And so if they could get a property tax exemption, it would leave them more money to actually serve the people that live there. We don't have time to go over all the bills today, so I'm going to hit some of the ones that are actually moving forward through the process and might be important to people here. House Bill 1646 is about the Dementia Action Collaborative. There used to be a work group looking at dementia in our state and how our state should help people with dementia. And the reason we look at this particular bill as they get ready to try and reconvene that collaborative is that people with Down syndrome, for some reason, have a high rate of experiencing dementia. Often by 50 or 60, many people with Down syndrome have dementia. And they aren't sure quite why, but because it's so high, as opposed to other disabilities or the rest of the population, they've included people with Down syndrome in that research and planning that they're doing for our state services. And that one is moved into House rules. So House Bill 2008 is another new bill for this year. And a lot of individuals have been trying to get into DDA, to get Developmental Disability Administration services. And those services, they base them on an IQ score for your eligibility. And not everybody tests well with an IQ score. And the diagnostic manual that psychologists and others use to diagnose autism or other developmental disabilities actually says in that manual to these diagnosticians that IQ is not a good reliable factor for determining eligibility or diagnosis. It skips over a lot of fundamental activities that people don't do well at, even if they have a higher IQ. And that bill just had a hearing this week. So we'll be watching to see where that bill goes and how it works through the process. There's been some lot of questions about it from people, and they're trying to work on getting all those questions answered within the bill so that it can pass and actually do what it needs to do with no unintended consequences. Personal needs allowance, Senate Bill 5745. That personal needs allowance is for when somebody is living in a residential setting and they get Social Security. Social Security allows you to keep a portion of it so that you have a little bit of money to spend, to buy shampoo or, necessities that you need, or maybe, just to have a little bit of extra to go to a ball game or something. But that needs allowance is 300% of the federal government rate. And in one instance of people with disabilities, developmental disabilities, who live in their own home, it's only 100%. And so this bill will bring them up to the same as everyone else has for their personal needs allowance. Another one that's really important and is exciting to see is Senate Bill 5819. We have a no paid services caseload with about 14,000 people who have been waiting for services. Many for many years have been on that list. And back in 2011, because of a budget crunch, they took away all the case managers. So all of those people on the no paid services caseload no longer had anyone to talk to ask, can you give me some resources or someplace I can look for help? They not only have no services, but they don't even have anyone to talk to and let someone know, you know, I do need services, here's what we need. So this bill says that DDA would have to hire 2 full-time case managers for that caseload. And that's not very many. That puts them at like 7,000 cases per case manager. But at least people would have someone to talk to if they call the office looking for resources. And it also says that they have to talk to each person and go through this list and find out what services do you need over the next year so that they can start doing some planning for that. Let's move down, the language access bill. And that was mentioned earlier. Susan talked about language access, how important it is to be able to offer information, not just in English, but in other languages as well. House Bill 1153, that bill is for schools because it's really hard for parents whose first language isn't English to try and make sure that the needs of their son or daughter are being met. And in the hearing on this bill this week, there was one mom who testified about that her son with a developmental disability got a head injury at school. And the school did not let them know that he had a head injury. And because of how he was acting when he got home, they wound up taking him to the emergency room and found he had a concussion, and the school hadn't said anything. And when they tried to call and find out what happened, because English wasn't their first language, they had a really hard time even getting information about the accident that had hurt their son. So it's really important that everyone be able to talk in their language and get information and share information in the school system. We talked about earlier House Bill 2016, 2016. That's the sexual health education bill that would also include teaching students how to avoid being recruited for sex trafficking. And Craig shared that example of the young girl that they were getting ready to take her to Mexico. She didn't get that sexual education that she needed to understand that that's what would happen and how to avoid getting stuck in that situation. And as I said, we've approached Representative Morgan and asked her to amend that bill to make sure that all students with intellectual and developmental disabilities have access to that education, the sexual health education. Also a new bill, House Bill 2054, is about the school bus monitoring. And there have been some really bad examples of things that have happened to students with developmental disabilities on school buses. And the recordings for those school buses from their video cameras are only kept for a couple days. This bill would require them to keep them for a year, because often these students can't communicate and tell their parents or someone what happened on the bus. And by the time they find out that something had happened, the video recording's already gone. So this bill is very important to families as well. And this is another civil rights issue, that we should be able to be free of abuse on a school bus and make sure that if it happens, that something can be done about it. Under employment, House Bill 1980, that's already had a hearing and it's getting exec out of that committee this week. And that's to make sure that everybody can have access to both employment services and day services, the community inclusion and community engagement and all of, the different programs that are available. In this one, it lists the community inclusion. And most people go to work during the day, and then in their evenings and their weekends, they can go out and do things in the community or with their friends and family. But it seems like with people with developmental disabilities who get services through DDA, they're told you either choose, you get to have employment for a few hours a week, or you get to go out in the community for a few hours a week, but you can't do both. And that's not right. And so this bill will help make it as it used to be in our state years ago, so that people have access to both of these things. And then there's 5790, Senate Bill 5790, and that would increase rates for employment providers and community inclusion providers. And there's two parts to this bill. First is the increasing the rates part, which we'll focus on more next week at the Employment Advocacy Day, but also establish a school to work program in all counties. Because right now they only exist in a few counties, and we need all students throughout the whole state to be able to participate in these so that they can leave school with a job. We don't want them going from the school to the couch and sitting in front of the TV. One of the new bills we learned about this week, and Disability Rights Washington has a petition going around for people to sign. It would give people who have the consent to say yes or no for healthcare decisions for a person. Say a person with a developmental disability went in the hospital and maybe they had COVID and they got so sick that they could no longer say and tell people what they wanted to have happen. So hopefully they have something that there's a person who is their healthcare person that could say, yes, go ahead and give them this medication or whatever procedure. But this bill takes it farther, and this is because the hospitals are trying to find ways to move people out of them quicker. And so they want that same person to be able to give consent to send them to a long-term care facility. And someone should not be able to make that kind of decision. But even worse is that when you do that, when you give consent, you also have to sign something that says you're going to pursue guardianship of that person. So you're taking a lot of rights away from that person by doing that. So we aren't supporting that bill, House Bill 2083. The Nothing About Us Without Us Act continues to move forward. That's in House Rules. That's House Bill 1802. And that's something our self-advocates have been working on for several years now. And it looks like we're moving forward and might be able to get that through finally. There are some concerns about parents who want to make sure that they can be included too if their son or daughter is nonverbal and doesn't communicate, and the parent knows that person best. So they want to make sure that they are able to participate in those work groups as well.
Diana, this is Ivanova. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can I clarify that, because in our bill, we did not put any barriers in the way for that to happen. If somebody needs to have their parent come and support them through the meeting to help them fully participate, there's nothing in the bill that would not allow that. And we are working on language to re-emphasize that in the intent that if somebody needs to bring support to support them through the meeting, that is welcome. So sorry if anybody thought that was a barrier. There's no barrier. There's no language in the bill that would make that a barrier.
Yes, you're right. Ivanova. I just hadn't gotten that far with it yet. But yes, I want to make sure that people understand, because I don't want parents to think their concerns aren't heard. But as with many of these bills, because they're still in the process, these bills often get amendments put on them during this process as they move along. And this is another one of those bills that, you know, is probably going to have that amendment that Ivanova was talking about put on it. So just to clarify something, because when a bill first comes out and everybody reads it, oftentimes whoever was writing that bill may not have thought about, you know, oh, here's this portion, or here's an unintended consequence. And so that's why we read through all these bills and make sure if they're not quite where they need to be, then we suggest to the sponsor an amendment that might help make it better. Another piece that goes along with that is Senate Bill 5793. And that is, you know, when people with intellectual and developmental disabilities want to participate in work groups, most of the people in those work groups are people that work for an agency or an organization. So they're paid to sit there and be at the table for those work groups. A person with an intellectual developmental disability, they're not getting paid to be there. They're there because they want their voice heard, but they should be paid along with everybody else at the table. So Senate Bill 5793 would allow up to $200 a day for people on those work groups who are from an underrepresented group like disabilities or low income person. So that bill is kind of in conjunction that we need both of those. We need people to be able to have their voice at the table, but we also need them to get paid so they can do that on par with what everybody else at the table is. And transforming services for people with IDD. We're still watching that bill. Senate Bill 5268 is from last year. And that's our big issue that we really need to get solved this year is caseload forecasting. All of those people sitting on a no paid services caseload here for DBA are there because we don't get caseload forecasting. Now, we have Medicaid home and community-based services waivers through DBA. And those same types of waivers, those Medicaid home and community-based services waivers, are available through Aging and Long-Term Care Services Administration. But the problem is, when you look nationally at how well we're doing, the aging agency, they're number 2 in the nation for how they serve people with their waivers. Now DBA, they're number 41st in the nation for serving people with those same waivers. So that is not equitable at all. And the only difference between ALTSA, which is the aging, or DBA is that ALTSA is caseload forecast and DBA is not. So we need to get that in place in our state, that DBA services are caseload forecast as well. And then the last one we'll touch on is Senate Bill 5938 that Craig talked about and that this rally is about today on the steps of the Capitol. And I'm gonna put the link for the rally in the chat here for you. So after Advocacy Day is over at 1 o'clock is when the rally will start. So you, even if you can't make it to Olympia, you can join the rally by watching on Zoom. So Senator Braun just dropped that bill, Senate Bill 5938, which directs DBA to make a plan to close all the RHCs by December 31st of 2028. And it starts by going a decrease of 20%. And we have 500 people in the institutions. The only problem with trying to do this is housing. We don't have places for people to go. And that's something the state has to address with this. Because years ago when they tried to close all the institutions for mental health. They did that and just said, let's close them all. They did. And now we have lots of people who have mental illness that are homeless and living on the streets because they didn't plan and prepare for where those people could move to. And we don't want to do that with DDA. We want the legislature to say, we are going to put funding into the housing, into the state operated living alternatives and supported living, whatever we need to make sure that there are places for those people to move out into the community too. So we need to tell them it's very important. We get these institutions closed. It's been going on for over 40 years that people have been trying to get out of them. And we've gone from over 4,000 people all the way down to just 500 now. And it continues to decline the number of people living there. And we've got over 60 people that are still living there and have asked to move out, but there's no place for them to move to. So that's our bills of interest. And like I said, you can find those anytime on our website. Just go to the ARC's website, hover on Advocacy, and click the top one that says Bill Tracker. And this gets updated every week with our bills of interest. And you can even check and see if there's a hearing on your bills that you're watching. We list all those hearings for each week on here too. And the budget proposals are on here. Right now, we only have the governor's budget, but we will have the Senate budget and the House budget proposals coming out soon too.
Thank you, Diane.
So that's a lot of information.
Yes, it's a lot of information. Thank you so much. We see some questions in the audience. Sarah, go ahead.
Yes, Sarah.
You're in mute.
You need to unmute yourself.
Hi there.
Hi there.
My name is Sarah Ducharme, and I am an instructor for a transitions program in Burlington, Washington called ADDIC. And so I'm actually here with my class. And we had, when we saw Sean, we just really wanted to say hi to him and say hi to everybody. And I just wanted to give a chance for my class to be able to say hello to everybody. So if it's okay, I'm going to turn my screen around so that we can do that really quick. Is that all right?
That's wonderful. Yes, thank you for getting your class.
Okay, so everyone say hi, everyone. Hi. All right, can we
hi.
Count of three? Can we get a shut them down? 1, 2, 3. Shut them down.
Yay.
Okay.
That is great. Thank you, Sarah.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing. This is awesome. We have Josie.
Yes, I'm on my way to the Capitol right now. I'm on the 620, so I'll be there soon.
Okay.
Thanks
We're
for
glad
sharing.
you're going.
Woo! Thank you, class. That's awesome. Welcome and thank you for attending.
Okay. We have another question from Josie.
Oh, sure. I think it's Margaret Lee now.
Okay. Okay, Margaret, do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I just haven't looked today, but does Senate Bill 5938 sponsored by Senator Braun, does it have any other sponsors?
Senator Robinson is now co-sponsoring it.
Okay, that's what I thought. Do we still need to do work on co-sponsors?
Oh yeah, yeah. We need to work on all of the bills that are important to us. Yeah, you know, nothing's done until it's done. So.
Yeah, right now it only shows Braun and Robinson. Those are the only two.
Thank you, Diana. You do a great job.
Thank you, Margaret Lee.
Thank you. Do we have other questions or comments before we go to the next?
Yeah, I think Jessica.
Real quick, like, go ahead, Jessica. But before that, on 5938, I did outreach to wrote something to Senator Valdez or the chair, Senator Cleveland of the Health Human Services, to make sure to put it on the agenda for a public hearing as soon as possible. Because if it doesn't get out by next week, it won't get much further.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you for the update. Sarah, do you still have a question or is it from the previous video? Your hand is still up. Okay. Thank you so much, Diana. It is a lot of great information. Thank you for keeping us updated. And with that, if you have any other questions or comments, please put them in the chat. And with that, we go to Jessica for a wrap up. Do we have Jessica? I'm looking. Stacy, do we have Jessica in the room? I can't find it. If I can find her.
If Jessica's not available, I could.
Yeah, I don't see Jessica, and I'll be surprised. I bet she's on her way to the rally. And I think Jessica may have asked for Diana to read something. I recall just a little bit of her asking if we could wrap up her portion. Diana, do you have anything from Jessica, or are we just encouraging people to zoom into the rally if they can't attend? We might have lost Diana too.
Okay.
Well, I encourage all of you.
Go ahead, Ivanova.
All you to come to the rally today at 1 o'clock. You can come on Zoom, and the Zoom link is in the chat. We would love to have you. And if you want to come in person, if you live in the Olympia area, we would love to have you in person. But thank you. And also, if you want to do an evaluation for attending this Advocacy Day, that would be very helpful for the Arc of Washington. The evaluation form should be on the website, and you probably will get a link on that in the chat. And here's just a little screen share of what you need to do to find the evaluation form.
Go to Advocacy Days and scroll down. All those different Advocacy Day links are right there. And when you see these 3 smiley faces, it says your feedback matters. You can click there and it will take you to our feedback form. And you click on it, you just push the arrow of the day that you're here, which would be January 26th for civil rights. And then you can tell them whether it's your first day Advocacy Day or not. And then it asks you some questions, and you just click the little circle under the smiley face that best addresses this. And we have this available in Spanish as well as in English.
Thank you, Diana. Go ahead, Ivanova.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you everyone for attending this Advocacy Day. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Please contact your legislators. Come to the rally if you can, and have a wonderful rest of your day. And what do we want? Shut them down.
Thank you so much for being here. Yes.
I'm on my way.
I'm
on my way, Ivanova.
All right, and we'll be heading back to the Capitol. We just stopped for lunch. I will see you all at the Capitol. Woohoo!
Please, if you're not at the Capitol, if you're not going to be in person, log in Zoom so you can support this very important action. Thank you, Ivanova, and everybody that showed up in person. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Woo!